When I really got serious about pursuing insurance agents, I had one insurance agent who was a buddy of mine that was referring me work. And I realized that that was by far the most efficient way that I was developing business. So compared to everything else, knocking doors, buying leads, being in BNI groups, telemarketing, you name it, I was spending a lot of time dealing with customers that didn't close. I was spending a lot of time dealing with customers that didn't have damage. I spent a lot of time dealing with customers who had bad carriers that were going to get me into a drawn out battle with the insurance company just to get paid a reasonable profit. But with the partnership that I had with an insurance agent, if he sent me something, that trust that the customers had for him was immediately extended to me, which meant that I could step in there. I'm going to close that deal if they have damage, if they need a roof. I'm their guy. And because I'm being selective about which agents I'm working with, I have control over what carriers my customers have. Now, the carriers should all, kind of operate the same, but we know that that's not true. There's a spectrum of good to bad carriers. And if you can stay near that good end of the spectrum, claims are going to get approved and they're going to get paid much better than the lower end of the spectrum. And I'll let you decide where the carriers lay on that spectrum. But when I realized that this was so much more efficient for me, and the customers were happy, and the agents were happy, it was working for everybody. I realized I need to really double down on this. I don't just need one agent who I happen to be buddies with. I need dozens of agents. I need to have my days filled with referrals directly from these agents, from carriers I want to work with customers who already trust me. And that's really what took me from being somebody that was, I was making low six figures, but I was working a lot of hours and it wasn't guaranteed. When I was able to spend really a full year developing my process for pursuing insurance agents, and then years after that, continuing to refine that process, I was able to build a network that was constantly referring me business. I had to turn away business because I had too much of it. So in 2019, I ended up doing 4.75 million in roofing, both in residential and commercial. And I had guys that were reaching out to me and they're like, "Hey, show me what you've been doing." And for a while, I didn't share it with any of my local competitors. I wanted it all for myself. Life kind of has its way of opening up opportunities, and I moved halfway across the country. And so all of a sudden, all these guys that have been asking about it were no longer my competitors. And I was able to share the inside track of what I had learned through hundreds of meetings with insurance agents, through tons of failures. And they were able to replicate the results that I was getting. And what really amazed me is rather than holding on to those things and going, I'm keeping it a secret, they started talking to their friends about it. And overnight, I had contractors from all over the country that are going, "Hey, I've heard what these guys are saying about you. I've heard the results that they're getting. I want to be able to actually be successful with insurance agents now." And so I started coaching with other companies. At this point, we've trained over 600 companies across the country, which represent thousands and thousands of sales reps, which is a lot, but it's still less than 1% of the contractors in this country. Maybe half a percent of the contractors in this country have gone through the restoration referral system. Now, the people that have done it are operating at a whole different level than the rest of their market. So there's still a ton of opportunity, but you have to take action if you want to be part of that group.